Hey, Sarah, thanks for taking some time with me. I'll let you introduce yourself and kind of tell us about what to expect today.
Yes, thank you. I'm Dr. Sarah Golden, and my background is I'm a licensed professional clinical counselor and K through 12 school counselor, and also faculty here at Walden, teaching in clinical and school counseling classes. And I'll let you introduce yourself too.
Cool. Awesome. Well, my name is Dr. Allison Spargo, and like you, I am a licensed professional counselor and also a certified K through 12 counselor, school counselor. And again, I teach a myriad of classes because a dual degree is fluid. And so I think today we're just going to chit chat a little bit about timeliness. So let me ask you, Sarah, well, Dr. Golden, tell us a little bit about like the importance of time and time management kind of in your experience.
Oh my goodness, time management is I'll say time management and organization is so important. And I think for our students, you see that in the deadlines and very structured program that you have assignments and discussions that are due on certain days. But relating that to the professional roles that students are going to have as counselors, I've seen it in the schools. So an example is when I have a caseload of students in special education, I have to write IEP goals that are due at a certain date that I have to be prepared to present them in team meetings. I cannot miss those. There's no exceptions in that type of situation. Even counseling sessions cannot be late. And sometimes it can be hard when you have a day filled with sessions to make sure your sessions run long, but just to make sure that you're structured, because you can't run late if you need to meet with a student or a client.
Oh yeah, that's a good example. And I can imagine like probably needing to even work ahead in case of like an urgent or emergency that might pop up. You planned some time to work on that IEP, for instance, like earlier in the morning, it's due that afternoon, but then something critical happens. It seems like you would have to kind of pre-plan for that. Does that sound about right?
Oh my goodness, that is the best example right there. One of the roles that I've done in K through 12 is with crisis counseling. Mm-hmm. And you cannot predict when crises happen. So you might have a day, I have a schedule, I plan my things out, but if a crisis happens with a student, I have to drop everything. And sometimes crises can take several hours. So I have to be able to adapt and adjust. And those deadlines that I have for other projects are still there. So it's a matter of really being organized and being able to adjust my schedule based on what comes up during the day.
Sure. Okay. So what would you say to people who maybe work best under the pressure of a deadline?
Well, I like deadlines myself.
Yeah.
I think it's just important that keeping a calendar. I don't know, I'd love to hear what you use, but I keep a calendar and I might have multiple calendars, but I try to merge them into one. I make a lot of lists. I like to start my day with a to-do list. Have you tried any strategies that have worked effectively for you?
For me, absolutely. I am a list maker for sure. And like you said, like I have several calendars. I have a family of 5, and not just my calendar, but managing all of the different sport calendars, the different work calendars, even just like the grocery list, like all of those things just kind of linger in my mind. And so writing a list helps me stay organized. In fact, I keep a paper planner. And so I keep this for a few reasons. One is it gives me a sense of satisfaction to like cross things out, but also like for licensure, if I was to be audited, then I have a calendar that I can go back and say, these are the clients that I've seen. These are the clients that didn't show up and those types of things. I used to be a procrastinator, and let me tell you, I had to outgrow that really quickly, especially as a professional. It just doesn't work for me anymore. And I'm happy to give an example for myself is on the mental health side of things. So I bill insurance for clients occasionally. And at one time, during COVID, I missed a deadline. And so in that insurance case, I had 60 days from the date of service in order to submit my invoice. I missed the deadline and I didn't get paid for that time. Yeah. I kind of like getting the money that I've worked for. So that was a hard one. But I've also found on the flip side, if I am proactive and I bill in a more timely fashion, then if I do something wrong, there's time for, an error message to be received and for me to fix it. So that's one of the examples that I'll give on the mental health side. Similar to you, like, in schools you can never predict. And so working ahead has really just kind of eased my stress and my anxiety. And that is best for both me and my family. Like, nobody operates well when mom is stressed,
Yep. And you can't miss things, right? You have so much on your plate that you have to really just juggle and manage them effectively.
Yeah. And you say you can't miss things. Sometimes I am going to miss things. Like, I'm not perfect, but as soon as I recognize it, like, I'm going to reach out and I'm going to use professional communication to tell whoever it is that I need, like, I need extra time, at least with an instructor. Like an insurance company, they're going to say no. They're just going to have a hard and fast line. But if, for instance, like a student needs extra time on a paper or a class assignment, like, reach out as soon as you can. You might not get the leniency, but at least you've tried and you're practicing that professional communication.
And I do like that you brought up that communication piece, is really just communicating your needs, and communicating in advance, I think is a really important factor as often as you can.
For sure. Well, I think, you've answered some of my questions about, like, why is time management and timeliness important? And we've covered a few strategies for, like, prioritizing and for managing time. What else do you think our students might need to know?
That's a great question. One thing that I think is helpful, and I actually was a Walden student at one point too. So one of the things that I found helpful is really looking ahead at what am I covering, not just this week, but also what are we covering in our course? Because sometimes you see assignments that build on each other. So getting a good picture of what's ahead, I think, is a really helpful piece. And that kind of helps with the preparation to know. I know in some of the classes I teach, we have big projects that build on each other. So being prepared for that and knowing what's ahead is another recommendation that I would have.
Awesome. I totally agree. Many of the classes at Walden do have that same kind of, like, strategy of building on each other. And so if you know what the big picture is supposed to look like, then breaking it into smaller, more manageable chunks helps tremendously. That's a great point. Well, we hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you have questions, you can reach out. I'm Dr. Allison Spargo here with Dr. Sarah Golden, and we look forward to making more for you guys.
Bye.
Bye.